Okay, so I have way too much clutter here in my workshop, and considering the fact that I'm going to be spending a bit more time in the workshop when I go full-time, I want to get most of the non-essential, or let's say less used items out of sight. So I'm going to be installing a few storage cabinets to get the clutter under control. But instead of just building normal cabinets, I want to put a woodshop junkie spin on it. Okay, so I thought I could maximize the storage capability of this unit by adding an additional storage option underneath the mid shelf over here and underneath the unit itself. So items requiring a bit more height can be stored in the top shelf. If the unit wasn't so high, the solution would be fairly simple. I could add some shallow drawers underneath these shelves, but unfortunately, if I add one over here, when it's pulled out, I won't be able to see what's inside. So I'm thinking of a drawer system that can pull out and dip down so that I can get access to what's stored inside. It might be a little bit tricky to prevent the items stored from falling out when the drawer dips down, but I'm sure I can figure it out. To get started, I'm going to install a very basic rail system to the cabinet that will support the drawers. Okay, so this is now the basic guide or rail system for my under shelf drawers. Now, as you can see, I split the entire width into two separate small drawers instead of going with one wide one, because once this drawer folds down, it's going to create a lot of pressure on these guides, because it's, you know, like a twisting pressure. So I decided to split that force or distribute that force over 4 points instead of just 2. Okay, so next up I'm going to get started with the drawers, or the drawers themselves, and I'm not going to make this too complicated because the idea of these drawers are not to be like big bulky storage drawers. These are going to be small shallow drawers that are going to have small dedicated items stored inside it. Okay, so this is now one of the 4 drawers I'm going to be installing into this unit, and as you can see, it's very basic in its assembly. So next I need to install the mechanism that's going to allow this drawer to pull out like this into a stopper and then drop down to give me access to whatever is stored inside. And the mechanism I decided to go with is actually beautifully simple. I'm installing a thin plywood strip on either side of the drawer, which will allow it to slide into the guides I have already installed into the cabinet. Then, in line with the plywood strip, I'm going to install a stud. The studs are going to protrude more than the plywood strips, which means that both of these can slide in the guides that I installed in the cabinet. But when I install stoppers into these guides, these stoppers will only interfere with the studs and allow the plywood strip to move by it or pass by it. Okay, so now I can pull the drawer open, guided by the plywood strips, until the studs head into the stoppers. At that point, I can dip it down and access what's inside. But there's still a component missing on this mechanism, and that's the stopper at the back that will keep the drawer in this position and prevent it from doing that. The nice thing about this concept is that if the system works or the idea works, a person could potentially add similar systems to existing cabinets or shelves and not have to build the cabinet from scratch. As always, I will be adding plans for this project to my plans website, so if you want to get your hands on some and support the channel, you can check the link in the video description. This concept could work well with, let's say, kitchen cabinets where the undershelf storage could be used for things like spices. And that is pretty much the idea. Obviously, the cabinet still needs to get a couple of doors, but the drawer can open. The drawer face creates a little lip at the bottom over here, so I can simply do that and dip it down like that to access what is inside. And close the doors to put it back into storage. So next I'm going to add the doors or fit the doors, and then I'll figure out how I can utilize this type of storage system. Okay, so that's pretty much the idea behind this storage system. I'm going to test it over the next couple of weeks, and if it works as well as I hope, then I'll probably add a few more of these cabinets in the workshop to help control all the clutter. At this stage, I need to consider the best way to utilize this type of storage system to maximize its efficiency. The easiest and probably most obvious way would be to store bulky items that would rely on their weight and shape to properly function with the storage system and not drop out when I fold the drawer down. Another option would be to add mechanisms that could secure these stored items, things like custom 3D printed holders or fit foam. The foam works well. I'll try out the 3D printed alternative at a later stage. If you want to get your hands on some of this foam, I will add it to my Amazon storefront. So that's the idea, and I think the addition was a success. I'm on track to clear up some of the clutter in my workshop. Now, as I mentioned, the mechanism is very straightforward, and theoretically this system could be added to any existing cabinet. But what do you guys think? Do you think your workshop could benefit from such a storage addition or storage extension, or do you think the work is not really justified by the small amount of additional storage? So that's about it. I have a bulk area storage for items that I don't use that often. And then I have these small sections that are a little bit more dedicated or organized. And that's it for the project. I will be back soon with more like it. But for now, as always, thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Cheers.